Hi, I'm J.D. Foster, Senior Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. I want to talk to you for a moment about the economic crisis that we're in and what Congress is trying to do about it. Imagine, if you will, that you lived on the eastern seaboard somewhere. You went outside and you saw that the wind was gusting, you saw some clouds in the air, and then you went inside and found out that the National Weather Service had just sent a Hurricane Hunter aircraft out to sea, and 200 miles out it discovered a Category 5 hurricane heading right your way. That's very much the circumstance we face today in our financial markets. It may not be obvious to you in your daily lives right now, but that is in fact what we see when we look at the indicators of our financial system. The financial markets in general have been getting more and more in trouble. They've been seizing up. The situation is getting extremely grim. We've seen unprecedented problems in the financial markets. And the graph I want to show you now demonstrates a little bit about the intensity of the problems the markets are facing. This is a graph of the federal funds rate. You see that the interest rate peaked. Now understand that the federal funds rate is the number one instrument that the Federal Reserve Board, our monetary authority, has for governing monetary policy in this country. That's how they inject liquidity into the system or withdraw liquidity from the system to maintain normal economic growth and maintain a control on inflation. This is the Fed's number one tool. It owns the federal funds rate, if you will. But what happened recently was they lost control of it. Unprecedented. Never happened before. In fact, it's not even written about in the textbooks that the Fed funds rate would jump so far above what the Fed was targeting. And then something even scarier happened thereafter. The Fed funds rate dropped well below what the Fed was targeting. So first it lost control on the upside, then it lost control on the downside. And when it lost control on the downside, what it means is the Fed is pumping liquidity into the credit system to keep it functioning, and it's not working at all. It's going into places that doesn't really need it, which is why the interest rate is so low. But the rest of the financial sector that really needs liquidity, that's seizing up, isn't getting it. The Fed's basic instrument for keeping markets operating wasn't working. The credit markets are part of our basic plumbing and of our economic system. If they're not functioning, your employer may not have the cash necessary to make payroll. Your bank may call in your home equity line of credit. You may not be able to get the cash you need to buy a car. If you want to buy a new house, our housing markets are in real trouble. When people are ready to buy a house, we want them to be able to borrow money. If credit markets aren't functioning, they can't get the mortgage. This is fundamental to our economy. It's got to be up and running properly. It's not. This was threatened to be a very serious set of circumstances. It's extremely unfortunate. We're going to spend a long time in the next few years figuring out how we got into this mess and what do we have to do to get out of it. But right now, it's time to act, and that's what Congress is doing.